The night sky above Earth's largest radio telescope array in New Mexico erupted with activity. Red warning lights flashed across control panels as operators scrambled to make sense of the incoming signals. What started as a faint anomaly quickly grew into something unprecedented. Dozens, then hundreds of massive objects decelerating at the edge of the solar system. "Multiple contacts, sir," called out the lead operator, Tom Wilson. "They're huge, bigger than anything we've ever seen." The facility's director, Dr. Robert Miller, leaned over the main display screen, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of data streams. The objects were arranged in a formation that could only be artificial. As Earth's various space monitoring stations began confirming the same readings, there was no longer any doubt humanity was experiencing its first contact with an alien civilization. But something was wrong. The massive fleet's approach was erratic. Several of the vessels were rotating slowly, their trajectory showing signs of minimal control. More concerning were the energy readings. They were fluctuating wildly. Some ships showed dangerous power spikes, while others appeared to be running on minimal systems. Within hours, the world's major space agencies and military commands were fully activated. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session as Earth's most powerful radio telescopes focused on the incoming fleet. The first transmission arrived 18 hours after initial detection. The message was a simple repeating pattern, clearly a distress signal. Earth's best computers worked to decode it, and within minutes, the basic meaning became clear: help. Critical systems failing, life support compromised, requesting immediate assistance. The alien fleet, consisting of over 300 vessels of varying sizes, carried millions of beings who called themselves the Meridians. They had been traveling through space for several years, fleeing from a catastrophic event in their home system. Their long journey had taken its toll on their ship's systems, and now, just as they had reached the relative safety of Earth's solar system, multiple cascading failures threatened their entire civilization. Initial scans revealed the true scope of their crisis. 40% of their power generation systems were offline or failing. Life support systems were operating at minimal capacity. Their massive ships, each housing hundreds of thousands of Meridians, were slowly dying. The first visual contact came during an emergency broadcast from the Meridian flagship. The sight of the aliens shocked the human observers. They were vaguely humanoid, but seemed to be composed of crystalline structures that shifted and reflected light in mesmerizing patterns. Their environment appeared to be filled with a dense, colorful gas that swirled around them as they moved. The Meridian leader, speaking through a hastily assembled translation system, explained their situation. "Our people have traveled far, fleeing the death of our star system. We chose your system because our sensors detected both intelligent life and a suitable planet for temporary repairs. We did not expect our systems to deteriorate so rapidly in the final approach. We request any assistance your species can provide." The next few hours were crucial. Earth scientists quickly determined that the Meridians required a specific atmospheric mixture to survive, one that was rapidly breaking down in their failing life support systems. Without help, the entire fleet would begin losing population within days. Dr. Miller, working with a rapidly assembled international team, made a startling discovery. "Their power systems are based on principles we barely understand," he explained to the emergency UN session. "But their immediate needs, power generation, life support, basic system stability, those we can help with. Even with our more primitive technology, we just need to think creatively." As the sun set on that first historic day of contact, Humanity faced its greatest challenge and an opportunity. Millions of alien lives hung in the balance, dependent on a species they had just met. The Meridians had expected to find a primitive civilization barely capable of spaceflight. Instead, they found something far more valuable, a species with an unmatched drive to help others and solve problems. The next few days would prove crucial, not just for the survival of the Meridian fleet, but for humanity's place in the galaxy. As emergency teams mobilized worldwide and space agencies began preparing for the largest rescue operation in human history, one thing became clear. Earth's response to this crisis would define our species in the eyes of the galaxy. Within 24 hours of the Meridian fleet's arrival, Earth transformed into a hive of unprecedented cooperation. The United Nations General Assembly chamber buzzed with activity as world leaders gathered for what would become the most important meeting in human history. We're looking at the biggest humanitarian, or rather, alienitarian, crisis ever faced, announced the UN Secretary General. Every hour counts. We need to pool all our resources now. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Countries that had been rivals for decades now worked side by side. Space agencies from around the world merged their operations. Private space companies offered their launch facilities and newest technologies. Military space commands provided their most advanced vessels for the rescue mission. Captain David Miller of the International Space Command took charge of the operation. Standing before a wall of screens showing the struggling alien fleet, he addressed the assembled team of Earth's best engineers and scientists. "We have three major problems to solve," he said, pointing to the main display: power generation, life support, and structural integrity. The Meridians are running out of all three. We need solutions that work with what we have right now. No time for new technology development. The main challenge became clear when the first technical data arrived from the Meridian ships. Their power systems operated on principles that seemed to defy Earth's understanding of physics, but their immediate needs were simple. They needed energy, and they needed it fast. Bill Parker, a veteran engineer from one of Earth's leading space companies, proposed an unexpected solution. "Look, their advanced power systems might be beyond us," he said, "but electricity is electricity. We can't fix their generators, but we can hook up our own power supply to their grid. It's like jumping a car battery, just on a massive scale." The idea seemed almost too simple, but initial calculations showed it could work. Human ships might not be as advanced, but they could generate enough power to support critical systems until more permanent solutions could be found. Teams of engineers worked around the clock, designing massive power converters that could interface between human and Meridian technology. What would normally take years of development was compressed into days through sheer determination and necessity. The first test came when a small human vessel approached one of the failing Meridian ships. The alien crew watched in confusion as the humans attached what must have seemed like primitive equipment to their advanced systems, but when power began flowing, restoring critical life support functions, their doubt turned to amazement. "Your solution is unexpected," the Meridian engineer communicated. "We would never have considered such a direct approach. Perhaps there is much we can learn from each other." Meanwhile, Earth's largest manufacturing facilities retooled their production lines to create the needed equipment. Factories that once made cars now produce specialized power converters. Aircraft hangars became assembly points for space rescue equipment. The entire planet mobilized like never before. The most dangerous part of the operation involved boarding teams. The Meridian ships' environments were hostile to human life, requiring specially designed suits. The first team to board a Meridian vessel included Captain Miller himself, leading by example. As they entered the crystalline corridors of the alien ship, the human team witnessed the true scope of the crisis. The normally bright crystalline walls were dim, and the atmospheric gases that the Meridians needed were thin. Through their protective suits, they could see Meridian families huddled together, conserving energy and atmosphere. "This is why we're here," Miller told his team over the comm system. "Every minute we save brings these people closer to survival." The Meridians watched in fascination as the humans worked. They had expected a primitive species barely capable of spaceflight. Instead, they found beings who could take their limited technology and reshape it to solve problems in ways the Meridians had never imagined. By the end of the second day, the first power converters were operational on 5 of the most critical ships. It wasn't a permanent solution, but it bought time that would prove essential for the massive rescue operation that was just beginning. As the human teams returned to their ships to prepare for the next phase, the Meridian ships glowed a little brighter. The first step in saving millions of alien lives had been successful, but the biggest challenges still lay ahead. As dawn broke over Earth's major space centers on the third day of the crisis, the human rescue teams faced their greatest challenge yet. The temporary power solutions were working, but the Meridian life support systems needed more than just energy. They required complete overhauls. The problem revealed itself during a routine check of the atmospheric processors on one of the largest Meridian ships. Jack Thompson, lead engineer of the human technical team, noticed something alarming in his readings. "The atmospheric mix is breaking down faster than we thought," he reported to Mission Control. "These systems weren't designed to run at low power for so long. The chemical balance is shifting." The Meridians, being crystalline life forms, required a specific gaseous mixture to maintain their physical structure. Without it, their bodies would begin to deteriorate. The failing systems weren't just an inconvenience, they threatened the entire species. Time was running out. The human engineers gathered in a hastily assembled conference room aboard the International Space Station. The walls were covered with diagrams of Meridian technology, and holographic displays showed real-time data from the alien fleet. "We can't repair their systems, they're too advanced," Thompson explained to the assembled team. "But maybe we don't have to. What if we build our own?" The idea seemed impossible at first. Building life support systems for an alien species using human technology had never been attempted. But as the team examined the chemical composition the Meridians needed, they realized something surprising. "The base elements are all common on Earth," noted Dr. Lisa Wood, a chemical engineer. "The Meridians just process them differently. We might not be able to copy their methods, but we can achieve the same result our way." Working in shifts around the clock, the human teams began converting Earth's industrial gas processing systems for space use. Factories that once produced medical gases were quickly retooled to create the complex atmospheric mixture the Meridians needed. The first test of the new system came sooner than anyone expected. One of the Meridian ships suffered a complete failure of its atmospheric processors. Emergency teams rushed to install the human-made replacement before the ship's atmosphere became toxic to its inhabitants. Inside the failing ship, human engineers in protective suits worked alongside Meridian technicians. The sight was extraordinary. Crystalline beings that seemed to glow from within, working with humans in bulky spacesuits, all focused on a common goal. "Your technology is different," communicated the Meridian chief engineer, its crystalline form shifting colors as it spoke. "But we observe that difference breeds innovation. You solve problems in ways we would never consider. The human-made processor was crude compared to the original Meridian technology, but it worked. As the new system came online, the ship's atmosphere began to stabilize. The Meridian crew watched in amazement as their environmental readings returned to normal levels. Success on the first ship led to rapid deployment across the fleet. Human cargo ships, hastily converted to carry the new processors, made continuous trips between Earth and the stranded fleet. Each installation brought another ship's systems back from the brink of failure. But the rescue operation wasn't without its dangers. During one installation, a power surge threatened to overload both human and Meridian systems. Quick thinking by Thompson saved both teams when he physically disconnected the power couplings, risking his own life in the process. "We do what needs to be done," he said later, brushing off praise from both humans and Meridians. "That's what humans are good at, fixing problems, whatever they might be." By the end of the third day, over 50 ships had been fitted with the new life support systems. The Meridians began to understand something fundamental about their rescuers. Humans might lack their advanced technology, but they possessed an invaluable ability to adapt and improvise. In their ship's restored atmosphere, the Meridian crystals glowed brighter, their colors shifting in patterns that the human teams learned to recognize as expressions of hope and gratitude. What had started as an emergency rescue was becoming something more, a partnership between two very different species, each learning from the other. As the third day ended, both humans and Meridians knew they had passed a crucial milestone. The immediate crisis was being contained, but bigger challenges lay ahead. The fleet's structural problems still needed solving, and time was still a critical factor. Day 4 of the rescue operation brought a new set of challenges. With power and life support stabilized on most ships, the teams turned their attention to the fleet's structural integrity problems. Years of space travel had taken their toll on the massive vessels, creating stress fractures that threatened to tear them apart. In the main engineering bay of the human support ship, Pioneer, Chief Engineer Mike Roberts studied the detailed scans of the Meridian vessels. The damage was worse than initially thought. "These ships weren't built for such a long journey," he explained to his team. "The metal, or whatever they use, is failing at the molecular level. We need to find a way to reinforce their hulls before they break apart." The Meridian ships used an exotic alloy that human science couldn't replicate. However, the basic principles of structural engineering remained the same, regardless of the materials involved. The human teams began developing external support structures that could hold the alien ships together. "Think of it like putting a cast on a broken arm," Roberts told the assembled engineers. "We can't fix the internal damage yet, but we can stop it from getting worse." The first attempts to attach human-made supports to Meridian ships revealed another problem. The alien hull material rejected traditional welding methods. Every attempt to secure the supports failed until a young engineer named Tom Wilson made a breakthrough. "We're thinking about this wrong," he said, pointing to the test results. "We don't need to attach to their hull. We need to cradle it like a nest holding an egg." The solution was elegantly simple. Instead of trying to weld supports directly to the alien ships, the human teams designed massive framework structures that could encompass entire sections of the vessels. These frameworks distributed the structural load evenly, taking pressure off the weakened hull sections. Construction began immediately. Space manufacturing facilities that normally build satellite components were now producing massive support beams. The International Space Station became a coordination center, directing the complex operation of moving these structures into position. The Meridians watched with growing interest as humans tackled problems in ways they had never considered. Their own engineering philosophy relied heavily on advanced materials and precise calculations. The human approach of using simple, robust solutions seemed primitive at first, but its effectiveness was undeniable. "Your species has a unique perspective," the Meridian chief architect communicated while observing the installation of a support framework. "You see problems not as technological challenges to overcome, but as puzzles to solve with whatever tools are available." The work was dangerous. Teams of space construction workers had to maneuver enormous structures in zero gravity, all while avoiding the sensitive areas of the Meridian ships. One wrong move could spell disaster for both species. During a particularly difficult installation, a support beam broke free from its moorings, threatening to crash into a weakened section of Meridian hull. Without hesitation, 2 human workers used their maneuvering thrusters to push the beam off course, risking their own lives to prevent catastrophe. "Just another day at the office," one of them joked afterward, though everyone knew how close they had come to disaster. As more support structures were installed, the strain on the Meridian ships began to ease. Structural integrity readings improved across the fleet. Ships that had been in danger of breaking apart were now stable enough to attempt repairs on their internal systems. The human engineers weren't content with just preventing further damage. They began developing ways to actually repair the weakened hull sections using a combination of Earth-based materials and modified Meridian technology. The repairs weren't pretty. The Meridians compared them to scars, but they worked. By the end of the 4th day, over 30% of the fleet had been stabilized with human-made support structures. The immediate danger of structural failure had passed, allowing both species to focus on long-term solutions. In their quarters aboard the human ships, the engineering teams celebrated their success with a mixture of exhaustion and pride. They had achieved something unprecedented, not just saving alien lives, but proving that humanity's greatest strength lay not in its advanced technology, but in its ability to adapt and overcome. As the 4th day came to a close, the combined fleet of human and Meridian ships hung in space like a glittering constellation. The framework structures wrapped around the alien vessels might have looked crude, but they represented something remarkable: the triumph of human ingenuity over seemingly impossible odds. Day 6, the ultimate test. The 6th day of the rescue operation started with alarms blaring across the entire fleet. A catastrophic failure had begun in the Meridian flagship's core systems, threatening not just the vessel, but the entire rescue operation. Multiple system failures in the central core. The alert echoed through both human and Meridian communication channels. Critical meltdown imminent. The flagship, nearly twice the size of Earth's largest vessels, housed the Meridian leadership and over 1 million civilians. Its central core powered not just the ship itself, but also helped regulate systems across the fleet. If it failed, the damage would cascade through the entire fleet. Captain Miller and his emergency response team rushed to their ships. "This is what we've trained for," he told his crew, as they prepared to dock with the failing vessel. "Every second counts." Inside the flagship, the situation was dire. The normal crystalline glow of the corridors had dimmed to an ominous dark purple. Meridian engineers worked frantically to contain the core breach, but their advanced systems were failing faster than they could respond. "Your assistance is vital," the Meridian chief engineer communicated, its crystalline form flickering with stress. "We cannot reach the manual override controls. The radiation would destroy our crystalline structure instantly. The human team quickly understood the situation. The Meridians, being crystal-based life forms, were especially vulnerable to the type of radiation now flooding the core chamber. But humans, with proper protection, might survive long enough to reach the controls. Miller looked at his team. This is volunteer only. We don't know if our suits can handle that level of radiation. I'll go, stepped forward engineer Pete Adams. My father was a nuclear plant worker. I know radiation protocols. 2 more volunteers joined him, Maria Torres and Alex Foster. The 3 suited up in their heaviest radiation gear, knowing it might not be enough. The Meridians watched in silent awe as the humans prepared to risk their lives to save the ship. The path to the core was treacherous. Sections of the ship were already beginning to destabilize. The team had to climb through maintenance shafts and crawl under failing support beams. Their radiation meters climbed steadily higher. We're seeing levels that would kill a human in minutes, Torres reported back. Suits are holding for now, but not for long. When they reached the core chamber, they found it bathed in an eerie blue glow. The massive crystal reactor at its center was pulsing erratically, sending out waves of deadly radiation. The override controls are on the far wall. The Meridian engineer guided them through their communicators. You'll need to reset the containment field manually. Adams reached the control panel first. His hands were steady as he began the reset sequence, but his radiation meter was already in the red zone. Foster and Torres worked on stabilizing the secondary systems, their own suits beginning to show signs of radiation damage. Containment fields at 20%. Sci-Fi-Geschichten, 60%. Adams called out, his voice strained but determined. Just need a few more minutes. The radiation was taking its toll. Warning lights flashed inside their helmets as their suit protection began to fail. But none of the 3 humans stopped working. They knew millions of lives depended on their success. Containment fields at 100%. Adams finally announced, "Core is stabilizing." The 3 humans staggered back to the airlock, their suits now dangerously compromised. Medical teams from both species were waiting to rush them to treatment. Despite the severe radiation exposure, all 3 survived, thanks to quick medical intervention and some help from Meridian healing technology. In the aftermath, the Meridian leadership gathered to honor the human team. The flagship's crystal hulls glowed with colors of gratitude and respect. "We have seen many brave acts in our long history," the Meridian commander announced, "but never have we witnessed such selfless courage. These humans risked their lives not just for their own kind, but for beings completely different from themselves." Day 7. A new dawn. On the 7th day, as Earth's sun rose over the combined fleet of human and Meridian vessels, the atmosphere was one of triumph and anticipation. The rescue operation had succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. The Meridian fleet was not just stabilized, it was ready to continue its journey. The Meridian flagship's Great Crystal Hall hosted the formal ceremony, marking the end of the crisis. Representatives from both species gathered to celebrate their achievement and discuss the future. 7 days ago, we arrived here desperate and dying. The Meridian commander addressed the assembly, its crystalline form glowing with brilliant colors. Today, we stand restored, not just in body, but in spirit. Humanity has shown us something remarkable. Captain Miller stood with his team, still wearing simple uniforms while surrounded by the Meridian's crystalline splendor. The contrast between the 2 species could not have been more striking, yet their shared experience had bridged those differences. "We didn't just fix ships," Miller responded. "We built something more important, trust between our peoples." The Meridian High Council had convened earlier that day and reached a historic decision. Their eldest member, glowing with ancient wisdom, stepped forward to make the announcement. "We came here seeking temporary sanctuary. Instead, we found something far more valuable, a civilization worthy of joining the Galactic Council. Earth will be the first planet we nominate for membership when we reach our destination." The human representatives were stunned. The Meridians explained that the Galactic Council was an alliance of advanced civilizations that guided the development of spacefaring species. Until now, they had considered Earth too primitive for membership. "But you taught us that true advancement isn't measured by technology alone," the Meridian commander continued. "Your creativity, courage, and compassion prove you're ready for a larger role in the galaxy." As part of the alliance, the Meridians offered to share some of their technology, not their most advanced systems, but enough to help Earth make significant steps forward. In return, they asked to establish a permanent embassy on Earth and maintain regular contact. "Your approach to problem solving is unique in our experience," the Meridian chief engineer explained. "While we rely on advanced technology, you find innovative solutions with limited resources. Both approaches have value." The ceremony took an unexpected turn when the three humans who had saved the flagship's core, Adams, Torres, and Foster, were called forward. The Meridians had created special crystalline medals for them, designed to capture and reflect light in ways that symbolized eternal gratitude. "These will glow as long as our species remembers your courage," the commander said as the medals were presented. "And we do not forget." The formal proceedings concluded with an exchange of gifts. The Meridians presented Earth with a small but powerful crystal matrix containing their star charts and basic scientific knowledge. Humanity offered something that surprised their alien friends: a collection of Earth's art, music, and literature. "Technology can be developed," explained Dr. Miller, who had helped select the gift. "But culture, that's the true measure of a civilization's soul." As the ceremony ended, plans were already being made for the future. The Meridians would remain in Earth's solar system for another month, allowing time for final repairs and the establishment of permanent communication systems. Then they would continue their journey to their new home, carrying with them stories of humanity's heroism. "This isn't an ending," Captain Miller told his crew as they watched the crystal hall slowly empty. "It's a beginning. We've taken our first real steps into the galaxy." The Meridian Fleet's lights created a spectacular display against the backdrop of space, their crystalline ships now strengthened by human engineering and determination. What had started as a desperate rescue mission had transformed into humanity's introduction to a larger universe. Earth would never be the same. The knowledge that they were not alone in the universe, and more importantly, that they had earned the respect of an advanced civilization, filled humans with a new sense of purpose and unity. As the day drew to a close, both species looked toward the stars with renewed hope. The Meridians had found more than just help. They had found allies, and humanity had proven that their greatest strength lay not in their technology, but in their spirit. The stars beckoned, and now, together, both species were ready to answer their call.